Schlockmeisters fans, I'm recording this on New Year's Eve 2019, almost 2020, so why not New Year's Evil? Check it out. Evil. The movie starts out in a TV studio somewhere. It's New Year's Eve. Apparently there's a hotel here too. And this is Yvonne, the end of Yvonne. Roz Kelly and her son, Derek, played by Grant Kramer. Roz Kelly plays Diane. She's the TV host. Sometimes not quite an attentive mother. It's the New Year's Eve countdown.
Hostess for tonight's musical celebration, the First Lady of Rock, Blaze!
And that's Diane. She is Blaze. They're taking calls on this show, too. Here's an interesting one.
Blaze here. A crazy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you. Call me Evil.
Evil?
I'm going to commit murder at midnight.
So here's our evil murderer heading to Crawford Sanitarium. And very stereotypically of movies from this era, everybody inside the sanitarium is certifiably crazy. He promptly makes out with a nurse in there, and as the first countdown starts, he stabs that nurse right on the hour. He calls the hotline again.
That New Year's resolution you told me you were going to make? I mean, you were just driving me, were you?
No way. I just made my first kill.
And there's the leftovers of the nurse. Son Derek has some issues.
My past affected me. Don't you?
Now we know he's not the killer though, because we've seen the killers. Our killer has now donned a phony mustache and looks like Jack from This Is Us. He's hitting on Carmela from The Last American Virgin, the actress Louisa Moritz, who was recently one of Bill Cosby's accusers. Well, he picks her up, as well as a friend of hers. And he thinks he's finding her friend annoying.
You know, the first thing I did when I got here
And her.
was to get Lisa to take me down to the Pacific Ocean.
After the other girl gets out, he shows her his bag of weed. Which, first time I've ever seen a bag of weed be a murder weapon. Anyway, once she came back out, she went looking for them and decided to look inside the dumpster, naturally. Which is, of course, where our killer was hiding. He calls the police and tells them where the bodies are.
A real swinger.
Greetings, asshole. A man of God, not a man of violence.
How about that? Finds a couple making out in a car.
Where are the fucking keys? In the ignition.
So he takes off with that girl, and she manages to jump out of the car. He tracks her down, but before he has a chance to finish her off, the cops are going to show up, so he has to run himself.
Killing a named personality at the stroke of midnight New Year's Eve would satisfy his egotistical desire for attention. Make him bigger than the son of Sam.
So apparently she's the target now. So our killer is trying to sneak into the TV studio now. In spite of the police presence. Cops aren't letting anybody in. But now he's got a police uniform and a gun. Our killer gets in her room, but guess what?
Oh, Richard, you scared me.
It's her husband.
Sorry. Look, you wait here. I'm gonna go identify myself.
Just a second, Louis. They also checked the files at the sanitarium. Richard Sullivan was once a patient there.
Lieutenant, Green said the husband was down in the ladies' suite.
How'd he get in?
He said the manager okayed it.
Now that everybody knows. And now Richard's going to reveal himself to his wife. Now she knows he's the killer too.
Instant replay.
He's been taping his killings.
He auditioned for the lead in a series.
He's mad because she's been ignoring their son.
He didn't tell anybody who he was. He didn't use his last name. So they didn't know that he was Blaze's little boy.
Anyway, she runs off, and she's somehow now underneath the elevator. Her husband's still in pursuit, of course. She has fillings in her teeth, too. Eventually, the cops corner him on the roof, but rather than give up, he commits suicide. And Derek's there to say goodbye. And take the mask. Mom is loaded into the back of an ambulance, and guess who's driving? That's our movie. Alright, let's talk about New Year's Evil. It's a movie that I actually originally taped on a beta tape. I rented it from a place called Denny's Video in Manitowoc, Wisconsin. Probably around 1987, maybe, somewhere around that age. It's a long time ago. Didn't actually watch it at the time. Didn't watch it until many years later in the 90s. Seen it again a few years ago on New Year's Eve. On my old channel, I reviewed it there. Now it's New Year's Eve tonight, so let's watch it again, right? So, anyway, it stars Roz Kelly, who you remember as Pinky Tuscadero in the Happy Days. And Grant Kramer is her son. I remember him from the movie Hard Bodies. So, anyway, what we have here is a serial killer is killing people on New Year's Eve. Roz Kelly is just like a Dick Clark type TV host, and she's hosting a countdown show on New Year's Eve. And every hour on the hour over the last 3, 4, or 5 hours of the night, a serial killer out there who calls himself Evil kills somebody, and then he records it. Then he calls up the show and plays the recording and says, I just killed somebody, the cops can find the body here, blah, blah, blah. They don't believe it at first, but it turns out it is real, obviously. And he masks his voice by using this voice thing, so he sounds like, Evil, I talk like this. So that's how they can't figure out who it is. So ultimately, that's a weird movie because from the very beginning, we know who the killer is. The first scene, we don't quite see him, but the second scene, we do. Like 10, 15 minutes in the movie, we know who the killer is. It's actually the husband of Roz Kelly. He's got some sort of vendetta because the mother, Roz Kelly, isn't like paying enough attention to their son, so he's a little messed up. He's a wannabe actor, and he feels that she's being neglected, neglectful of their son. So he decides to go on a killing spree. I don't know. So anyway, he kills people one after the other. He puts on disguises and kills them. Ultimately, he wants to kill Roz Kelly, too. He gets into the studio, but this time she has guards and stuff and police because they know there's a killer, and the killer's allegedly after her because the killer basically said that. So, but he can get in because he's her husband, and she has no idea. But ultimately, he turns on her. There's a big fight at the end. He ends up on the roof, and then he jumps off the roof right before the cops are about to arrest him, and he kills himself by splatting on the sidewalk. The son, Grant Kramer, shows up and says, Daddy, Daddy. And the last scene of the movie is presumably Grant Kramer, the son, with Daddy's mask on, and maybe the carnage will continue. I don't know. So anyway, that is New Year's Evil. Scream Factory put out a nice Blu-ray of this several years back. There is a 37-minute documentary on this Blu-ray as well about the making of, and there's all kinds of cool interviews with the director, new interviews with Grant Kramer and a few others. So anyway, the movie itself, yeah, it's not bad for what it is. A couple of brief nude scenes, some gore, not a whole lot. It's just your typical 80s slasher film. One of the earlier ones, though, 1980 this came out. So anyway, that's pretty much it. So anyway, Happy New Year to everybody. Have a good 2020. If I don't have any problems, I will have this video up before New Year's is done. So New Year's Eve is done, I should say. So anyway, check it out. New Year's Evil. Let me know what you think about it. Leave some comments down below. New Year's Evil. Watch it. Bye. Evil.